How's it going, Diablo fans? So today I'm bringing you my Immortal Ball Lightning build guide. With this build it's pretty easy to reach immortality because you have a free slot on your amulet, giving you actually 3 Flameshield duration tempers, which makes it pretty easy to reach immortality. I'm playing this build a little bit different than most people. I decided to go for Splintering Energy to have more conjurations and highly focus on conjuration mastery damage scaling, and so far it's working out pretty well for me. I cleared tier 109 with pretty bad gear. I don't really have the required greater affixes yet, and I still have a lot to improve, but you know, I decided to bring you the build guide now anyway, because this is pretty much going to be alright for most of you guys. So we're gonna be complete glass cannon, focusing on all out damage. You can play it with Ring of Starless guys, but you can also play it without Ring of Starless guys. It works just fine in both variants, so Starless guys is definitely not a requirement. I'm just using it because I didn't push this build to the max yet. If you want to get very high with this build, Starless guys probably gonna leave for a ring with attack speed and unstable currents cooldown reduction, but you know, I will still figure this out and I will probably post an update. Also in this build we have the option to play a 9 board Paragon, so we can really actually play 9 glyphs, and it works just fine, and you're gonna see that in the Paragon section. So anyway, I don't really need to talk a lot about this build. It's classic Ball Lightning. You all know this build, have been in the game since the all favorite Ball Lightning in Season 2, but it works very well. I feel like it's slightly stronger than Frozen Orb at this point. At least I've seen people pushing tier 117 with this build, so that is actually pretty insane, but they also had pretty good gear. As always, you can find links to all the sections of this guide in the description down below. Also check out the breakpoints. The attack speed breakpoints for Ball Lightning is very important for you to know. They are in the sections breakpoint. You will also find links to all my other build guides and the planner in the description down below. So now without further ado, let's start with the guide and go into the skill tree. Taking a look at the skill tree, we just pick Firebolt. We're not using it as enchantment anyway. And then we don't really pick anything here. We just get 1 point into Devastation and 3 into Elemental Dominance for the extra damage. And then we pick Chain Lightning into Destructive Chain Lightning. We're playing Lightning Spear enchant right now, so this just gives us a little bit of extra crackling energy, and we really don't need these points anywhere else. And then we max out Flameshield with Enhanced Flameshield. Flameshield is going to apply our burning, so we want to get the larger burn radius here. Then 3 into Glass Cannon and 1 into Elemental Attunement. We don't put any points in the other skills here. We're just going to use them from our defensive skills on our chest piece and our Shaco. And then we just put 1 point into Align the Elements, just 1 into Protection, just for the barrier here. We're going to be immortal, so we don't really need the defenses, but we need the barrier for synergies. And then we go for Ice Blades into Summoned Ice Blades for the cooldown reduction, Lightning Spear into Invoked Lightning Spear for the stun and the stagger. And then we go for Conjuration Mastery. Conjuration Mastery is our main damage multiplier and also fixes our mana regeneration. So you want to have as many points on your amulet as possible. I only have a +4, so I have to remasterwork it basically. You want to get +5 or +6 on your amulet if possible. Then 1 into Inner Flame, 3 Devouring Blaze. Again, we just used the burning from the Flameshield here, and that is just fine. Then we go all in on Ball Lightning into Wizard's Ball Lightning for the little bit of crackling energy here, because we're still playing Lightning Spear enchant, right? And I'm going to explain a little bit, if you don't play Lightning Spear enchant, how you actually would change. Then we use Static Discharge and Invigorating Conduit. I don't even know if you need it at this point. I'm still speccing it as like a backup mana solution, because you sometimes drop in mana if you are unstable currents and you don't have a whole lot of Lightning Spears up, so I'm still using it at this point. If you have very high gear, it might not be necessary at all. Then we go for Hoarfrost here. This just gives us extra damage in the stagger phases of the bosses and also helps in the dungeon phase here. So note that this counts for all damage, right? So we don't need to deal cold damage. It works for all damage. It's a nice little damage multiplier here. And then we go Unstable Currents into Supreme Unstable Currents. Since we are playing Overflowing Energy here, we want the Crackling Energy to pulse faster. And then we go 1 into Causing Currents, into Conduction, and 3 into Convulsions. This just gives us a little bit of extra stun here again for staggering stuff faster. So there's a couple of options you have here. First of all, you can play a variant where you put a lot of Unstable Currents cooldown reduction on your gear, and then you can change Overflowing Energy to Verse Mastery, and you can save this Supreme Unstable Current skill point here. Then If you don't want to play Lightning Spear enchant, you don't need Wizard's Ball Lightning. You can actually, if you fix your mana, you can go into Mage Ball Lightning, which gives you, again, faster stagger on bosses. Something you can play around with. This is pretty much the options. And obviously, if you don't play Lightning Spear enchant, you don't need the Chain Lightning points here, so you can just put them somewhere else, wherever you would like. You could also distribute some points into Precision Magic. I feel like I don't need the Lucky Hit. I'm staggering way more than enough. But, you know, if you feel like redistributing some of those points into Precision Magic, feel free to do so. For the skills, we have a couple of options. First of all, we do Ice Blades with Ice Blades Enchantment. This is simply the meta to get infinite Flameshield, and you wanna smash Ice Blades whenever it becomes available. Just press Ice Blades all the time, because that is mainly gonna reduce your cooldowns and it's keeping you alive. Then Teleport, we have a very low cooldown on Teleport here, and we also use the Bounding Conduit. So we don't really have any movement speed, so we just use Teleport to move around. And it's pretty easy with this low cooldown. The overflowing energy will reduce it even further, so you can pretty much teleport all the time. Then Flame Shield, you want to have a high Flame Shield duration. You can roughly get 6-second Flame Shield duration in this build, and you need somewhere around 40% cooldown reduction to make it permanent. Then we have Unstable Currents. My cooldown here is pretty bad, so you probably want to invest into like one ring with Unstable Currents cooldown reduction. I don't have cooldown reduction on my amulet, so if you have cooldown reduction on your amulet, this goes to like 37 or something like that. Makes it much better. But ideally, if you want to have perma unstable currents in the boss fights, you have to get it down to like 30 seconds. So you definitely have to use unstable currents cooldown reduction on your amulet or rings if you really want to do that. I'm not using it right now. That's why I'm kind of, you know, missing a little bit of damage in the very top end here, but you know, if you don't have the gear, don't sweat it. You know, the build works just fine without having crazy unstable currents cooldown reduction. You're just going to be a little bit slower in the boss fight. In the dungeon phase, you usually have perma unstable currents anyway. And then Ball Lightning, obviously, we're going to spam that. And I play Lightning Spear with the aspect of Splintering Energy. So what happens is the Lightning Spear cooldown goes down very fast with the overflowing energy and the Ice Blade, so you can kind of cast it every like 3 or 4 seconds. And with the aspect of Splintering Energy, you get 2 of them, and you get another 25% damage buff to Lightning. So it basically gives you 14% damage from the Conjuration Mastery and another 25 from the aspect. So it's, let's just make it roughly 40%, right? If you have more than 7 ranks in Conjuration Mastery, it's even gonna get a little bit more. So I feel like it's a very nice synergy. And also, you know, those extra 2 Lightning Spears help you to get it going with the mana regeneration and everything. And yeah, as enchantments, already talked about Ice Blades enchant for keeping the Flame Shield up. And then I play Lightning Spear enchant right now to get the extra conjurations. You don't have to play Lightning Spear enchant. Ball Lightning enchant definitely works. It's gonna speed your dungeon phase a little bit, but it doesn't work so nice against bosses. You definitely have other options. You could also play, for example, Frozen Orb enchantment here. But I just feel like in general the Lightning Spear enchantment feels best for me. But you have to try that out for yourself, whatever fits your needs best. So for the items and stats, my gear is definitely not perfect. So make sure to check the planner. I have much better gear in the planner, and I'm also going to say it what items you should get here. But don't take my gear as like a baseline here. I really don't have the perfect affixes, and I'm going to explain why. So first of all, you want to have Shaco. It's best in slot. If you don't have Shaco, you can still play this. You're just going to play a regular helmet with Flame Shield duration, cooldown reduction, and, you know, certs that doesn't really matter at all. You know, you can go at probably intelligence or something like that. It's really not so important. And, you know, there's a lot of defense. You can either play defensive aspect or you can get... I don't even think there's like any good offensive aspects left because I'm already playing them. So you would probably play like a defensive aspect. Maybe like an Undying, which, you know, if you get damage, you don't have to chuck potions, or, you know, you really have to see for yourself what you want to play there. And for the chest piece, I play Exploiter's Aspect for more damage in the dungeon. And you want to have intelligence, mana per second, and defensive skills, ideally greater affix. And you want to hit Flame Shield duration and defensive skills. is definitely the best. And then you want to have lucky hit. Chance to freeze is actually the best because, we have frozen multipliers in Hoarfrost. So you want to try to get a chance to freeze. If you can't get chance to freeze everywhere, not a big deal. But chance to freeze just the best in slot, basically, for this build. Then for your gloves, you want to have attack speed, crit chance, core skills, and you're going to temper damage to close. And again, chance to freeze. I actually didn't do this. I have to still keep tempering this, but I was too lazy. You want to hit damage to, you want to hit core skills basically all the time. If you have greater affix attack speed, you have to look out for the attack speed breakpoints. There's a section in this video saying breakpoints, so you might want to hit attack speed to get your attack speed breakpoints, but ideally you want to get the core scale ranks here. And I play the Splintering Energy, as I already talked about. So this is going to give me 25% damage buff whenever I, cast my Lightning Spears here. And it's just working out very nicely. It works very well in line with Conjuration Mastery. So I kind of like this aspect. And I also always wanted to play this aspect because I kind of like it. I think it should be more than 3 seconds though. I would like if they could buff it to like 5 seconds because the 3 seconds is a little bit short to get it permanently in the boss fight right now. And then for our pants, I'm going for Concussive Strikes, again, for more damage. And you want to have Intelligence, Max Life Armor, and Flameshield Duration. And again, chance to freeze. Ideally, I have Immobilize, so I only have 1 freeze. And, it still freezes quite a bit. But, it's better if you have more freeze on these rolls here. And then we have Bounding Conduit on our gloves. I just like to have the little bit less teleport cooldown, and also during the dungeon, Crackling Energy hitting more enemies is basically more cooldown reduction with overflowing energy. And then you want to have Intelligence, Mana per second, Ball Lightning ranks. Ideally, you want to get as many Ball Lightning ranks here as possible, so try to temper everything on Ball Lightning ranks. I have Teleport cooldown reduction and Lucky Hit to freeze on here. Teleport cooldown reduction is not really required. You can go for movement speed, but I'm not really moving at all. So, I just think this tempering slot is pretty much free. It doesn't really matter all that much. Then for a wand, I'm going Accelerating Aspect, and you want to have Intelligence, damage. And you can either have Shock Critical Strike Chance or Damage to Close. Both are good. Ideally, you want to have the chance of Ball Lightning projectiles to cast twice, and you want to hit that with Masterworking, so this one also has to be Remasterwork, basically. The Shock Critical Strike chance is pretty bad, so you really want to hit those extra Ball Lightning casts. And then for a focus, you want to have Int, Crit Chance, Cooldown Reduction, and again, Damage to Close. And I'm playing the Shadow Damage here with the Tarasha Ring. But you can definitely also play a normal ring and get the attack speed from the normal ring and then switch the shadow damage to the extra chance to cast Ball Lightning. Probably the extra chance to cast Ball Lightning will be better in the end on this item. But again, my gear is not very optimized, so I think in a very late game scenario, if you want to push this to the max, you're definitely going to remove this Force Tarasha stack, and then you might even remove Tarasha ring completely to get a regular ring, because you can get Unstable Currents cooldown reduction on a regular ring, and that's going to help you greatly when boss fighting. Speaking of rings, so again, Tarasha ring, if you want to play Tarasha, try to hit those cooldown reduction ones here. Other stats do not really matter at all. Resource generation is nice, but not really required in this build. And again, if you want to replace it by a regular ring, you get a regular ring with attack speed, crit, and whatever int, for example. And then you want to temper Unstable Currents cooldown reduction on that ring. So you would go for damage and Unstable Currents cooldown reduction. And it will definitely help you perma Unstable Currents in boss fights, which is required if you really want to beat high-level bosses. Then I have a Ring of Starless Guys. Mine's pretty terrible. It's even a legacy one. So if you want to play Starless Guys, obviously you want to crit those critical strike chance here. But also Starless Guys, you don't really need. So it's probably even better to replace this with a regular ring as well. And again, go for the attack speed, Unstable Currents, cooldown reduction, int, and critical strike chance there. And you really don't need the resource cost reduction. If you go for a regular ring, you can just use resource elixir. This 40% is not so strong. If you have enough conjurations, more attack speed on your rings will give you more conjurations, and that's going to fix your mana even without Starless Guys. So I'm going to test this for a little bit longer, and I will probably post an update to this once I figured out how to replace those attack speed less rings because Ball Lightning really benefits a lot from attack speed here. And last but not least, on your amulet, you want to have attack speed, cooldown reduction, conjuration mastery. So critical strike chance, you don't want to have that on here. You want to have cooldown reduction, and you want to have conjuration mastery, and you want to masterwork conjuration mastery. So again, you get damage to close or lightning damage, both are good, but damage to close technically best one. Flameshield duration you want to have, but you don't want to masterwork that. So you really want to hit the conjuration mastery. Every conjuration mastery hit by your masterworking is going to give you like 15% extra damage and mana regeneration and everything. So if you have you don't even need a greater affix. If you have a regular affix conjuration mastery, you can still get this to +5 or +6. If you have a greater, you can even get this to +7. So that is definitely going to be the strongest masterwork you have available here. And we play Stormswell for the highest damage buff possible here. I think I forgot to say gravitational on our focus, but you know, you need gravitational obviously if you're playing Ball Lightning, right? Let's talk a little bit about attack speed breakpoints. So you want to have a certain breakpoint. So if you don't understand how it works, basically the game works at 60 frames, and you know, every so much attack speed you get with a certain skill will actually reduce the number of frames it takes to cast a skill. So, you know, there's usually like breaks between like 10 to 20% attack speed where adding attack speed actually does nothing. And then once you hit the next breakpoint, you're going to add 1 frame, right? So you want to make sure that you hit the attack speed breakpoint you need pretty much exactly. So for the lower breakpoints, I didn't really put too much research into it because you don't really want to play these anyway, but I'm going to give them to you anyway, right? So the first breakpoint is 57.8 attack speed for 18 frames. Then we have 67.9 attack speed for 70 frames. Then we have 73.2 attack speed for 16 frames. 82.8 attack speed for 15 frames, 97.8 attack speed for 14 frames, 113.6 attack speed for 13 frames, and finally 132.4 for 12 frames. 12 frames is 5 ball lightnings per second. This is the highest breakpoint you can reach. So you want to kind of adjust your gear that you can hit a certain breakpoint. So if you, for example, look at mine right now, I have a 45% attack speed, but I'm not using the attack speed elixir. So now I'm at 69.6. We add 50% from unstable currents and accelerating aspect, and we're going to be at 119.6. 119.6 is a little bit too high for the 13 frames breakpoint, which is actually at 113.6, but I'm really trying to reach the 132.41 here. So if you have good attack speed, greater affixes, you can definitely try to go for the 132.4 attack speed breakpoint. But in general, I would say the 113.6 is a way better one to approach because you're really not getting a whole lot benefit out of this. So just make sure so you understand this properly, right? So for example, between 113.6 and 132.4, you're actually going to get nothing. So if you get 125 attack speed, you know what? You're just wasting 12% basically. So really try to get those breakpoints. They're very important for Ball Lightning. For Frozen Orb, for example, they're not so important, but for Ball Lightning, these breakpoints actually matter a lot because the difference between 13 and 12 frames is much bigger than, for example, if you play Frozen Orb, the difference between 22 and 21 frames. The difference between 22 and 21 frames is, you know, somewhere around 5%, but the difference between 13 and 12 frames is almost 10%. So really try to hit those breakpoints. They're also in the description of this video. And then the second breakpoint I want to talk about is Flameshield duration and cooldown reduction. So you want to have permanent Flameshield, and you will reach that if you have somewhere around 6 seconds Flameshield duration. I have 5.93. 5.8 will probably still work, no problem. So that's the first one you want to hit is, you know, roughly 5.9 seconds there. And the second one will be cooldown reduction. So you want to have roughly 40% cooldown reduction. I have 39.3. So you can definitely go for 45%. I unfortunately don't have cooldown reduction on my amulet, so I cannot go for 45%. If you do 45%, you can definitely get a little bit more leeway on your Flameshield duration tempers, right? So with 45, you're probably going to get away with like a 5.5 second Flameshield, somewhere around that. So just, balance out your cooldown reduction and your Flameshield so you are kind of in the range as I am, and you will have absolutely no problem keeping your Flameshield up permanently. And then let's just talk about crit here real quick. So I don't really have the best crit chance right now. I only have like 53% plus another 10. So I'm like at 64% or something like that. But that's because I'm right now changed a ring here to, try out something different. If you have crit on your ring as well, and you may be playing Starless Skies or something like that, you will be golden on crit chance. But I'm just trying some different variants of this build right now. For the Paragon board, we don't pick any defenses at all. This is an immortal build, right? So we just pick the Tactician Glyph here to get a little bit of extra non-physical damage. And then we get the Enchantment Master board. So I'm playing Enchantment Master right now because I still don't have the perfect cooldown reduction to feed my Ice Blades enchantment. If I would have a little bit more cooldown reduction, so let's say you have like around 45 cooldown reduction, you can remove this and you can go actually for a 9th glyph slot. I'm going to show you after I'm done with the Paragon board how to do that. Then for the Enchantment Master, we pick Elementalist here, just for the extra damage buff. And then we go to the next board. It's going to be Frigid Fate. We pick Frigid Fate. It works again. It is a 30% damage buff. And then we're going to put Adept here. We need Adept with Ball Lightning. There's no way around it. We need the extra radius because we want to stand inside of the mobs, and we're going to make much more hits with our Ball Lightnings if we have the Adept Glyph. And then we have the Elemental Summoner. We get the Conjurer Glyph here. This is also, I'm playing it because I'm playing Lightning Spear Enchant right now. I'm not sure if this is needed. You have to test for yourself. If you don't need the Conjurer Glyph, you can get another glyph. But I feel like it is beneficial. If you have high ranks of Conjuration Mastery on your amulet, it actually gives you a lot of bonus damage from that. Then we pick the Elemental Summoner here, just real quick for the lower Ice Blades and lower Lightning Spear cooldowns. And we get the extra attack speed here. Depending on your attack speed breakpoints, you might not actually need these. And then we go over to the Ceaseless Conduit. We just picked this for the Destruction Glyph slot here. Then we go to the Searing Heat. And again, we just picked the Enchanter Glyph here. So we need the Enchanter Glyph to reach the full bonus of Frigid Fate. That's pretty much the only thing you pick it. If you remove Enchanter Glyph and you go to your Frigid Fate, even with Tal Rasha Ring, right, you're going to fall to like 22%-ish. And if you're not playing Tal Rasha, you're going to fall to like 15%. So you definitely want to play the Enchanter, even though it's relatively weak because it just gives you a little bit of additive damage. It really helps with getting the maximum bonus of Frigid Fate. And then we go for the Burning Instinct. Again, just for the Glyph socket, I put Flame Feeder here. You can definitely exchange this for Control. Flame Feeder is just better for high tier pushing for the bossing. Control is definitely better if you're like farming, right? And then last but not least, we get the Charged in the Static Search board here. This is also, I like the setup of this board. It's very inexpensive and you get like the full Glyph here with the 15% bonus damage. So I want to show you one more Paragon board real quick here. That is the 9 glyph Paragon board version. It doesn't work with 2 unique rings, but it works if you take 1 unique rings, either Tal Rasha or Starless Skies. So this board gives you the maximum damage you can basically get. It requires a little bit more base attack speed though. So this board is fairly similar to the old one, so I'm just going to go through it real quick. So we're going to start with Tactician here, then we go over to Enchantment Master, and we just go for Elementalist. Then we go over to Frigid Fate, we pick Frigid Fate, and we put in Adept. Then we go over to the right here with Elemental Summoner. So we're going to pick the Conjurer Glyph, so for more attack speed, and we're gonna pick the maximum mana nodes here. If you play Starless Skies, you don't need these, but I'm kind of planning the build without Starless Skies now, and Ball Lightning is very, very mana hungry, so these really help getting your mana up. And then we put in the Conjurer Glyph here for more Lightning Spear duration. So this board is really focused towards having a maximum Conjuration Mastery and getting Lightning Spear Enchant and having as many Conjurations as possible. And then we get the Ceaseless Conduit with just Destruction here. We get the Searing Heat with the Enchanter Glyph here. We need the Enchanter Glyph to max out our Frigid Fate, basically. So I'm at 26%. It's not great, but, you know, I'm still working a little bit on this board here. And it also depends on the attack speed. So how many of these nodes do you need? I could actually remove 2 of these nodes and put them into the Enchanter Glyph. And that would actually give me, you know, a little bit more damage on Frigid Fate, for example, right? So then we move over to the Burning Instinct. We also picked that one with Flame Feeder here, so even more multiplicative damage. Then we ended up with our Static Search here. We just put in Charged for the extra crackling energy. And then the very last one we have here is at the very bottom here, below the Frigid Fate. We put the Exploit Glyph in the Icefall board, and that is actually every single board you can get with 9 glyphs.